Here's Brody Brazil.
You know, I honestly never thought I would have a phone number with my name in it. 833-4Brody. Yes, it's specific here to the YouTube channel. You call in, I never answer, it goes straight to voicemail. After the beep, if you want to say something interesting, could be a question, could be a thought, a comment, a video idea, whatever it is, if you're passionate about it and you make some sense with it and you're sensible about your delivery and it's appropriate, I'll use that voicemail right here on the channel.
Hey, Brody, this is Stuart, and I'm from Philadelphia. First-time caller, long-time listener. I had a two-parter for you. Number one, with the soccer teams taking over older venues seems to be the talk nowadays, like your Roots over in the Coliseum or the Fire potentially being sole proprietors at Soldier Field in Chicago, what with their deal in the suburbs going on. I was curious what you thought the future of American soccer would benefit most from, if it's teams taking over older, more storied venues and being a placeholder in the community, or if you thought that, foregoing the public funding and having their own stadiums purpose-built would be better for the health of American soccer. The second question is, would you rather have a watermelon launched at your head once a year or be pelted with tomatoes every time you walk to your car? Okay, thanks, Brody.
Stuart, you had such a good call going there, and then it took such a dramatic turn there. I appreciate the humor. I appreciate the fun. Watermelon once to the head every year, you said? Or tomatoes every time I go to the car? I mean, I feel like a watermelon to the head might have me suffering some cerebral damage. I'm concerned about that. I feel like I could take the tomatoes better. Also, if somebody's throwing them from afar, they might miss. I guess the tomatoes, even though the frequency of that, I'd bike everywhere. I guess I would never drive my car. But Stuart, great call. Appreciate that. Let me get back to your main point here. The optimal U.S. soccer venues, and it is happening a little bit more now. You're right, the Roots in Oakland, they've taken over the Coliseum, and the Fire FC, they might, if the Bears really do move out to the suburbs and before the Fire build, maybe their new stadium in that new 78 neighborhood of Chicago's South Loop, maybe the Fire FC would have Soldier Field all to their own. I don't know if the timing and the timeline of that is going to not overlap or if it will. But bottom line is, to your point, what does the optimal U.S. soccer venue look like for a professional soccer team? And I think there's three categories here. The worst type of soccer venue for a USL team or an MLS team is to share a gigantic multi-purpose venue. And I guess I'm being generic there. What I really want to say is, if you're a soccer team and you're sharing the NFL team's stadium in that same town, and that NFL stadium is cavernous and it seats 74,000, and your soccer team is barely lucky to get 24,000, and it always feels empty, and it just doesn't feel right. I mean, the shape of the stadium is rectangular, but it's not your own, right? That to me is the worst possible thing. It's always going to feel a little bit more dead and dull, and unless you pack that place, unless it has your logo and your theme and your team's history plastered all about, it's just not going to feel like yours. You're always going to be the little sibling playing in, the big sibling's bedroom, basically. It's just not going to be yours. No ownership of it. It's a little bit better if you have an entire stadium all to yourself, even if it's an older venue, even if it's 30 years old, but you've made it your own. In the case of the Roots, I mean, it's kind of theirs at the Coliseum, but it's also not entirely theirs, and we realize the Coliseum is way past its service life. The Roots have their own plans to try and build a new stadium elsewhere in Oakland. This is a great temporary thing to be happening. Great use of the stadium while it doesn't have anything else going. Couldn't have happened at a better time for the Roots, right? And the Fire situation, I can't dive into that specifically with Chicago. We just don't know how that's going to play out. But if you have your own stadium all to yourself, whether it's new or old, that's better. The very best thing, to your point, Stuart, is a purpose-built, soccer-specific stadium. Better if it's new, better if it's got some surroundings to it, better if it's the right size, like you think your crowds are typically going to be 32,000, great. Build a 30,000-seat soccer stadium then. Make that place packed. Have the areas of the stadium be custom-built to your fan base and what you know they're going to want. If it's going to rain a lot, maybe cover the seats. Or if it's super hot, cover the seats. Right? Build your soccer stadium to make it pleasant for the fans and something attractive for them. So that is obviously, I'm stating the obvious and saying that's a best case scenario. I would also say that what's interesting here around North America, when Major League Baseball teams and NFL teams, we're counting out hockey and basketball here because those indoor arenas don't mean anything to USL and MLS teams. But when a USL team these days or an MLS team comes in and says, we want to build a brand new stadium, the price tag of that inherently is going to be a fraction of what a $2 billion NFL stadium is going to be. That's why in Chicago, the Fire have said, I think the stadium they want to build at the 78 is like $500 million total, right? So to some developers, they'll look at that and say, wait a second, if there's a $2 billion football stadium, and football's great, or there's a $500 million soccer stadium we could build, we could get the same kind of usage out of the soccer stadium. We can do it at a fraction of the cost. Like, it's so much more appealing for soccer stadiums to be built, sometimes over a baseball stadium or a football stadium. And I get it. If you want that Taylor Swift concert, which everybody talks about, every city talks about, yeah, you probably need the 70,000 seat football stadium. You do. But in the case of developing something, having it on your property, having it a part of what you're doing, like soccer stadiums of that size, outdoors, rectangular shape, so you can have a proper concert there, still very enticing. USL and MLS teams can come in far cheaper with an option to do a stadium than baseball or football can, MLB or NFL these days. I also want to end the video by saying it kind of feels like no matter what, the growth of soccer is totally related to media and exposure, and it really doesn't feel like the game day experience, the match day experience, it doesn't feel like that's as necessary for soccer fans as much as it is for, hypothetically, a football fan or a baseball fan. Again, I'm crossing out basketball and hockey, indoor winter sports, a little bit different. It just doesn't feel like soccer is as venue reliant. Like, you're not coming to the stadium for the venue. You're coming there to watch the match, to watch maybe your favorite team, your favorite player, an opposition player. I don't know. Soccer there are tremendous soccer stadiums. And I think it's more about the crowd in soccer than it is the actual stadium, right? Baseball stadiums are all a bit different. They've got different architecture, different styles. If you look across the world globally, a lot of soccer stadiums look very similar to each other. Rectangular, some are U-shaped, some don't have in-zone seating. Bottom line is they have to kind of mold around the same rectangular shape as the soccer pitch. So anyway, I think the entire point here is that soccer fans and the growth of soccer, I don't know that it's dependent on stadiums as much as baseball might be or football might be. It's still important, but soccer has bigger fish to fry. Number one might be right now with the MLS and their lack of exposure, their lack of getting games away from paywalls so that the general public can keep tabs on their teams. Anyway, let me know what you think about all this below. Soccer stadiums mattering. I don't think it's a best idea to go into old historic stadiums. I don't think history matters as much. It's somebody else's history. Great, you're playing a new team in an old stadium. How long is that going to last? I'd rather have you in your own purpose-built stadium and do it right for the next couple decades. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Also, thumbs up down there. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that button down below. I'd love to see you next time.